Welcome to our insightful agents and investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, September 2nd, 2021, and this is Mastermind call number 343. And we do have one in the queue. Remind y'all, we have fabulous free leads for the winner of the week and the idea of the week, so don't be shy. Please actively participate. Just hit *6 and hit 1 to do that. Bruce, I know you're right in the middle of a foundation session. Anything you want to share with the group?
Those of you who've been to foundations before, please show up in 2 weeks for the role play call that we do on Wednesdays in the middle of each month, third Wednesday of each month. So be on the lookout for that if you've attended Probate Foundations. If you haven't, please sign up and hit us next month. At the beginning of the month, we're doing Foundations again. And that's all I have for today, I think.
Is this your fourth or fifth, about your fourth class, I think, with Foundations, right, Bruce?
It's probably the 6th or 7th.
6th or 7th, wow. So you think you're probably actually starting to get it figured out by now, right? You got it pretty well dialed in?
Pretty close. I'm still easily distracted and taken down rabbit trails by the question askers, but that's what makes the class so good. Makes the class so good to come back to a couple of times as well.
There you go. And if anybody hasn't taken it, if you're a subscriber, it's free. If you're not, it's ridiculously inexpensive. And, if you've been thinking about getting involved and you just want a lot more confidence in your conversations and knowing what you're doing and what to say and when to say it, you really should sign up for that class. And you can do support@alltheleads.com or just go to our homepage on our website and sign up. Tim, anything you want to share?
No, not a thing right now. I want to it's been an interesting summer, and of course, I know that you're all going to, celebrate the national holiday tomorrow, which is my birthday. So I figure you're all going to be getting around to that. Other than that, I don't have anything.
All right. Well, we only have one in the queue. Eddie always comes loaded for bears, so I'm sure he'll keep us busy. But hit *6 and hit 1, guys, if you want to actively participate. In the meantime, first up this week is Eddie, ending in 5464. How you doing, Eddie?
I'm good. How are you?
Great, man. Thanks for being there.
Oh, you're welcome. So I probably last year sometime, Chad Corbett told me to check out Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And I have really dived into that head on, just to try to figure out how to use it. Cause everything that he says makes sense, to me. And I've done sales training and all these different, but it just seems like this is the kind of approach that would work really, really well for inherited properties. So I came up what resonated really, really loudly to me is asking questions that the answer is no, or you hope the answer is no, instead of asking questions that they'd say yes, because what Chris Voss does is they would let their guard down. So I just wanted to, this is not complete yet. I wish I'd spent more time preparing this. I've practiced a few times with a few people, but I want to get your thoughts on kind of my strategy from using Chris Voss's negotiation approach. But this is just one piece of asking questions that end with, the answer would be no, then trying to do a label to kind of understand maybe what they're thinking, and I'm doing this based off of conversations that I've had that they've kind of stalemated, and trying to get them to say that's right, and then following back up with another question phrased in a way so they'll answer no to ultimately set up a meeting. So it's not exactly a role play. I was just thinking, kind of sharing my thoughts with you. Once you open up the conversation, and seeing what your suggestions are, Bruce. How's that sound?
I love everything you're saying. Everything you're saying, I love it. You want to do it a role play style? I promise that I'll sort of play into the philosophy.
We can try. I don't know how good of it would be at a role play.
You don't have to do it. You're fine.
I would love to do it with you, like off the call, like just so we could practice the fluidity. But like I said, I am. Call me. I'm a huge chicken. Exactly right.
It's all good. It's all good. You can, go ahead. Let's hear what you have. We won't role play it.
Hey Eddie, before you get started, if I could just set the stage real quick, if any of you, just in case you don't know what we're talking about, Chris Voss was a hostage negotiator for the government, and the tape series is really interested on. I mean, basically, it was his job to sell the terrorists or the person taking hostages to surrender without hurting anybody. So, I mean, that's a little more high stakes than prospecting probate leads. But his premise that I think you're referencing, which I loved, was people want to say no, so get them to say no and get the no out of the way. And the simplest example of that is most people will call and say, did I catch you at a good time? And people will say yes. He prefers to say, did I catch you at a bad time? So they can say, no, it's not necessarily a bad time, and get the no out of the way. So anyway, that kind of just sets the stage for the rest of what you're going to do. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so that's exactly where I was going to start is, when people say no, they're not committing to anything. So then their guard's down a little bit more, so they're willing to give more information. So that's exactly what I started is like, did I catch you at a bad time? To get them to say no. And then saying, do you need any help with, dealing with your inherited property? They'll probably say no. Then I say, hey, that's great. Sounds like you probably have it all handled. Do you mind if I ask you a few more questions? Hopefully they say no. Then are you wanting to spend multiple weekends working on this until it's done? Or weekends, months, it could be any of those till it's done. We've all seen them drag out years, So they say no. Are you prepared to cover all the expenses that having the inherited property for longer might bring? Well, no. Are you wanting to drag this out longer than it needs to be? No. Do you think your mom and dad wanted this house to be a burden on you? Hold on, just a second. Do you think your mom and dad wanted this house to be a burden on you and your family? And then I'd say no. And then I'd label and be like, well, it sounds like you're afraid that if you don't handle everything for your mom's estates, then you are doing her a disservice or something along those lines. And the ultimate thing is for them to say, that's right, or something, I want them to say that's right. And then my last no question is is it a bad idea for us to meet and see how we can take the burden off of you and expedite this process?
Okay.
So, I mean, that's not there could be 100 more questions that could be in there, but these are just some that I thought kind of elicited pain, like spending money, using time, drag it out longer than it needs to be, and then do you think your parents wanted this to be a burden, kind of thing. I thought those kind of elicited pain, and I don't know. And then I phrased that last question. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I think you're using too many no questions. Those are all great no questions to have in your quiver, but that's a lot of questions, and I would start to feel like you were trapping me. If you hit me with 2 or 3 things that were really obvious no's, I would start to feel trapped. I'd be like, this guy's leading me somewhere. So I think you want to get.
I'm not saying.
Faster.
Yeah, I'm saying like having these in your quiver so that based on how the conversation's going, kind of selecting them, and then label what you hear from, a little bit of a conversation, and then using a no question at the end. I think it's not. It wouldn't just flow like that. I wouldn't just rattle off all those questions, and I'd probably
Great questions to have in your quiver. Great questions to have in your quiver. I would also mix in a question or two to disguise some of those, because there were several of those that weren't really disguised. Do you think that your parents would want you dealing with the house for the next 6 months? Well, that's that's not disguised. It's kind of obvious that no means yes in a case like that, if you know what I mean. It's just obvious to the person that you ask that. They're like, I don't want to answer that. That's a trap. So I would disguise a few of them a little bit better. Let's get to labeling really quickly. A couple of the labels that I like the best are, number one is it sounds like you probably weren't looking for outside help today. So that's a label that I love to get a that's right on. Okay, that's right. Okay, another label that I want to give them after we've been kind of back and forth is you probably wish you didn't even have to deal with probate in the first place. You probably wish you didn't even have to deal with probate in the first place. Both of those are really quick that's right. And if you can ask your no questions specifically and strategically to lead to one of those two label questions, you'll be on the same page with someone in no time at all. You probably only need one or two no questions in your entire conversation if they're strategically placed to get to a label like one of those two.
I also had a label that I thought of that was like if somebody is like pissed off and basically says, hey, go jump off a bridge, or they're very curt with you, being like, hey, it sounds like everybody and their brother's probably been hitting you up, and you are just overwhelmed with the amount of people that are hitting you up trying to be an ambulance chaser or something. I don't know exactly, but labeling that and seeing if maybe that would take their guard down with you and open you up to a conversation.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And the other, see, I just did it. The other thing is sometimes the that's right doesn't have to lead further down a road to an appointment on the call. Sometimes labeling them and getting a that's right only has to move you to the next conversation. So sounds like you weren't looking for help right now, or you weren't looking for any help today. And they say, that's right. And then you go, if that changes in the future, do you think we could potentially keep in touch? Maybe I could follow up in a month or two. And so there are times when you labeling them isn't necessarily to try to move them along to an immediate appointment. Eddie, you're phenomenal at this. You follow up with people better than anyone else that I know. So I don't think that you're labeling people with an intent to always get to an appointment. But for everyone else that's listening, this is one of those opportunities where you can label someone and they could say, that's right. It sounds like maybe you're not ready to have this conversation this month, or you might be a little bit overwhelmed this week. And then that label and that's right answer could say, would next week be better if I gave you a call back? That's just an example of how we could use this. I love your no questions though. Really powerful. Now, what would you do if you said, I'm probably catching you at a bad time, and they say yes? What do you?
I'd be like, I usually, I apologize. Is there a better time that I can just say, is there a better time that I can reach out to you? And they usually say a time. They might blow me off.
What's your label though? What's your label? I'm probably catching you at a bad time. Yes. What's your label?
Sounds like I caught you at work.
I
don't know.
Good one. Good one. You're probably really
sounds
busy
like maybe
today.
I caught you at work.
It sounds like maybe I caught you at work, or you're probably really busy today, something like that. Yeah. But remember, a label. You can label someone even if they haven't given you a no.
I was just going to add, Eddie, I know you know this, but the goal is to get the no out of the way. That it's okay at some point to start asking yes questions. I know you know that. One thing I heard there that I thought was really clever that I'd never heard before was, would it be a terrible idea for us to get together and go over your options? That's kind of hard to say. Yeah, that's a terrible idea. I don't want to know my options. I like that one. I had never heard that before.
Yeah, I've been.
Would you be closed-minded to blank? Would you be closed-minded?
Oh yeah, nobody wants to be told they're closed-minded.
Yep.
So, like I said, this is just a work in progress, and I did Chris Voss's master class on negotiation, and just been going. I was like, there has to be a way, these things all work really well if you use them. But he's like, you need to practice them like 100 times. So I was at a lunch this week, and I tried doing some of these things on them, and some of them totally fell flat because I didn't do it right, and some of them got the people to talk more, and so it's definitely taking practice and role plays and trial and error, just falling on my face to find out which ones work best. But I'll keep tweaking them and let people know. But if people haven't checked out that book or got on the master class, I highly recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, sir. Well, I appreciate
the master class is good because it's actually Chris Voss. Like he's actually teaching you, so you get to hear how he does his voice inflection and how quick he is with his everything. So anyway, that's just my idea of the week. I don't know if it's going to be anything, but I hope it's helpful to somebody.
So far, you're in first place, Eddie.
Well, glad to hear that, but I hope somebody else comes on with another idea and I can take it and put it my
All right. Thanks for sharing, man. We appreciate you participating. Next up is phone number ending in 6322. You're up next.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hello there.
Yes. Hey, this is Mary in Denver, Colorado. Hey, so I just wanted to come on and introduce myself and stuff. I just joined up with you guys, and I just posted a Facebook group message to everybody. I'm looking for role play and accountability partners. So if anyone wanted to do that in the morning, I'm on the Mountain Time.
I guarantee you're going to have multiple people that want to do it, and I'm going to call you and everybody else out real quick. If you're going to commit to doing some role play, try to commit to at least a month. A lot of times you'll get a role play partner that does it for a week, and if everyone can just commit to at least a month, that'll really move people along. I find that if you're role playing, it takes more than 1 week because you'll feel super uncomfortable in that first week, and the temptation is going to be like, that was so uncomfortable, I'm not going to do it again. But before long, it's just going to be crazy natural. But it does take about 4 weeks before you really start to flow with the role play.
Yeah, I just actually moved out to the West Coast, so I had a bunch of friends on the East Coast, and they're all way earlier than me now. So that's why I'm like, I need some help here on the West Coast. So if anyone's over here, that would be awesome. And also, I like I said, I was doing probate in South Carolina. That's where I'm from originally, and I just moved out here to Colorado. And so I'm trying to, nail down how everything works over here. And I was just curious. I did hear on a different call, things work a little differently in Colorado with probate, and I just didn't know if you guys had any insight of how things work here.
Yeah, the Colorado is probably, it's the only state I'm aware of where nothing gets put in most counties. It's not 100% of the counties, but a majority of the Colorado counties, nothing gets posted until the probate's completed. Mm-hmm. So the bad news is a percentage of them are going to already be sold or listed by that time. The good news is by the time it's posted, the probate's completed, the title's been transferred. If they haven't done anything with it, they're ready to go. You're not going to get people dragging their feet saying, we're not ready yet. We're going to wait till the probate's done. We got to clean out the house. For the most part, the leads that survive and make it to the end are going to be ready to take action. So we have a number of people that are very successful in Colorado. You just got to go with that's their local. A lot of your courthouses have privacy provisions, and they just won't post it until it's completed. And I'm not sure.
Okay. And then, so are people? I think my county, Denver. I did talk to them. They said it's not like that, but I'm looking at adding some counties. So before I added some counties that are like that, I wanted to know how I should shape my letters and things like that. Should I do something different?
Yeah, you're going to focus a little bit more aggressively on real estate. You're still going to offer the extra services, the concierge style approach, but you're going to need to focus slightly more on real estate, and because they'll be further out, the emotion won't be quite as the high level of emotion won't be quite there if they're 4, 5, 6 months away from the loss. And a lot of times, if they've gone through probate, they've probably cleaned the property out. So I would focus a little more aggressively on buying or helping list real estate.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll just have to see how I can change that letter up. And yeah, I think that's for right now. I've started making my calls and nothing quite yet, but I'm sure I'll have some good stuff to report soon.
Good. Yeah.
All right.
You will. Ultimately, the goal and the thing to keep in mind is your goal is information and conversation first. I mean, you said you did probate in South Carolina. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it with us, or was it were you
Yeah, it was with you, and just a lot of inadvertent deals as well that I just happened to get happened to be probate, not even from you. So honestly, it's like 90% of my business. So I do feel comfortable with it.
Awesome.
But
Good.
Well, thank you for sharing. And if anybody, good job finding the Facebook group. If anybody else is new and you're not part of All the Leads Mastermind, I think we've got about 15,000 people in there now. And we screen to make sure they're real estate or professionals or investors. But that's a good place if you need role play partners, if you're looking for accountability, if you have a referral, that's a really good place to start. And hopefully you get a good response from that. So welcome to Colorado, and keep coming back and sharing.
Yeah, I will. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you. Good job this week, guys. We got a pretty full queue. Next up.
Hi, this is Mike. Can I ask a question? I jumped in late for the call, and I just missed the no question. I think I know what it is, but I missed it. I want to see if it's very similar to what I've been using. I think it's a great technique. Can you repeat that again, how to ask the no question?
So the no question might start with something like this. It might start like, am I catching you at a bad time? So a lot of people want to say no. So if you say, am I catching you at a bad time, they're going to lean into their tendency to say no. Another example of a no question might be, do you have everything handled with probate? And they will lean towards saying no. Because that's just what they're wanting to do anyway. Now, some of these questions that I ask are designed to where even if they say yes, it's still a positive. So, do you have everything with probate handled so far? If they say no, it's a great thing because I can immediately carry the conversation on. If they say yes, then I get to label them by kind of describing where I think they are in the process to get an agreement. So you probably weren't looking for help today, would be the label. So you just want to turn some of those questions into that all the other sales coaches that are out there teach you say yes, 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 or you're looking for a string of yeses. We don't mind them saying no to a few things. Sometimes you can make it where that no is a good thing. So no, it's not a bad time. Other times you can make it where no might actually be perceived as a bad thing for you, but you can turn it into a good thing.
I'll tell you what, and I'll just jump. I don't want to take all the time. One of the things that I've used in the past when I was going for expires, and I'm just trying to ease into probate, is I say, would you be offended if I stopped by to take a look at the property?
Would you say that again? I kind of lost, got muffled on my end.
Would you be offended if I stopped by to take a look at the property?
Yeah. Would you be closed-minded to would be another way, but would you be offended?
Would you be offended if I asked you? Right. Would you be offended if I asked you? Would you be offended if I asked you to keep in touch with you?
Yeah. Good. Good.
Right. And I made a lot of that's not original. I used to chase expires in the 90s and the 2000s when I was not a broker, but sales mostly. And then that worked a lot. I got a lot of appointments that way.
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah. Those are great questions. Really good. And if you can start to, obviously, I think you're already thinking along those lines. If you can start to use some of those techniques and think about how you can use that language and those patterns in everyday life, it starts to become even more natural when you prospect. So if you use it with a significant other or with kids or with parents or friends, if you can start to use these patterns, it becomes really, really easy when you're prospecting because it's ingrained in who you are.
Yeah, and then when I'm recruiting agents a lot, that's the first thing I ask them, did I catch you at a bad time? And most of them say no, and then I have the permission. Or if they're not ready to move to my brokerage, I always ask them, I said, when can I follow up with you that I'm not too soon or too late?
Yep.
And most of the time, it's a lot faster than I thought. Most of the time, it's a lot sooner than I imagined.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, Bruce, we should all go home. We should all go home and ask our wives or husbands, would you be offended if, and then just fill in the blank. That'd be good practice, right?
Yeah. You probably don't want to go out to dinner tonight, do you?
Yeah. Thank you.
I love it.
Yes. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you. We have 3 more in the queue, guys. Great participation this week, and I haven't even had to cajole you very much. We do have time for more. Just hit *6 and hit 1. In the meantime, next up is phone number ending in 3343. You're up next.
Hey, guys. This is Brent. How are you today?
Hey, Brent. Doing good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So I have a question for you. If when I take my probate leads, I scrub them to, 1, make sure that they have a real estate. 2, I scrub out the second owners. And 3, I target out-of-state PRs. So talk to me about that idea, what you guys have. If you have a big list and you're working that list, ideally, how do you guys scrub that list?
Jim has a specific way. I'll let Jim chime in first, and then I'll throw in my 2 cents.
Bruce, tell me what my specific way was. Give me a clue.
I thought you went out of area, right? Don't you go older leads first and then out of area? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, when I'm flipping properties, I work 1 to 3-year-old leads, but I don't necessarily just focus on out of area. I just find that the large majority of them respond are out of area, especially in Florida. Most of our most of the heirs in Florida are not local. But no, I don't particularly target. I mean, I'll work with anybody who wants to sell their property and, you know, wants to sell it quickly. I have better luck with the older ones sometimes because there's zero competition, and, you know, and it's kind of like the lady in Colorado, you know, by the time the probate's filed, they're ready to do something. Well, anybody who hasn't done something after a year is really ready, and you've got zero competition. But no, I don't necessarily just target the absentee owner. Let me ask you a question. Do you ignore all the others, or are you just working that segment?
No, I separate them into ones that are local. Also separate the surviving spouse, because that to me is a separate message. And I have had people, kind of like in the training yesterday, where you call up that surviving spouse and they're ready to come over and punch you to the office and punch you in the face because you know, they felt so disrespected on it. So I just prefer to remove the surviving spouse and talk to them about downsizing, not do you want to sell your property, and with like how I would approach an heir with no surviving spouses.
So that's what I wanted to hear. You're contacting everyone. You're just changing your message a bit, whether they're local or
correct.
Surviving spouse or not. Okay, and that's legit.
No, I don't. I just not throw them away until they come up sold when I'm scraping them.
Right, and I think we talked a couple calls ago. Don't ignore the ones that don't come up with real estate. Sometimes you'll be pleasantly surprised. We told the story a couple weeks ago of the guy who had a response. Well, there wasn't any real estate in the estate, but you know, I did inherit quite a bit of money, and I want to sell my $800,000 house, and I've got my eye on a $2 million one. So don't assume, even if you get someone that doesn't have real estate, don't assume that person just inherited. I mean, they just got a pretty good windfall. Don't assume that there isn't some business you can do with them. I would have, you know, if you're going to segment them, have a slightly different approach to that segment. You know, maybe approach them. Have you considered, you know, moving up? You know, we've had people that have turned those kind of people into hard money lenders. So, you know, just don't.
Absolutely.
I would assume that every lead you got is a potential deal. But Bruce, what do you think of him segmenting the campaigns? I know that's a lot of.
I'm just trying to find the lowest hanging fruit. Just
right
out of all of them.
Yep.
You know, every time the list comes in, what's the lowest hanging fruit, and then work it down from there.
Yeah, I frequently segment as well. So I'll throw everybody into a different bucket. Not all the time, but depending on bandwidth, put people in a different bucket and work the out of state PRs first. The surviving spouses would typically be last. I'm guilty of typically taking out the leads that don't have real estate and normally not working them. However, you could always work those from a different angle, from the referral angle. And hey, I'm working as a kind of a concierge through probate. You know, I can connect you with people that could help you save money on inheritance taxes and different things like that. Are you running into an inheritance? So you could always go after those, but I'll go surviving spouses last. So one thing that you said that I want some clarification on is you said that you throw out the second heir. Would those be like the second, third, and fourth phone numbers? Is that what you're talking about, or
no? I just throw out I segment the surviving spouse, and then when the real estate was sold, right now I'm throwing this out. But it sounds like I'm making an error there. But you know, as I go through these, it's just to keep my marketing expense low because there's just so many. That's why I only go after real estate. You know, I go after the estates that have real estate involved in them.
Well, if you're making an error on that, then I am as well. From a male standpoint, especially, I'm definitely scrubbing out the ones that look like they don't have real estate from male. That's the benefit of Probate Plus, is that you get to cut your mail cost way down, and that can basically let you reallocate instead of doing 4 pieces to 100 people, now you're doing 6 pieces to 60 people. So it just lets you hyper focus a little bit more on those that those with real estate, or at least that we believe have real estate.
Sure. All right. Well, I don't want to take up anybody else's time. I just wanted to review my thought process with you, your thought process, and make sure I'm down the right track. So thank you so much.
Hey, quick question for you. I always want to make sure that we don't ever recommend a one-size-fits-all approach. How many leads are you getting per month?
Right now, I'm sitting on like about 5,000 leads.
Yeah.
Over
so
the country. Across the country, I'm sitting on about 5,000 leads, more than I know of. I probably have about another 3,000 in queue right now.
I kind of suspected that. So if somebody's on this call that's getting 30, 40, 50 leads a month, pretty much ignore everything you said and just call everybody.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I've been doing this a long time, creating scrapers a long time ago. And so, it's a different category, different game than somebody that's just getting started. And I agree. Call every single person and use every single approach. And if you have something like Probate Plus, where you can drill down and really see what you're looking at, I highly recommend using a tool such as that. I just had programmers that a long time ago, before any of these scrapers came out, we created them. I just used them myself. I didn't go out and there was no competition. It was a cakewalk. And so now it's a little different. So anyway, I highly recommend exactly what you said. Do not segment unless you have a bunch.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Just wanted to clarify.
Thanks, Brent.
See you guys.
See you at 2 o'clock.
All right. Next up is phone number ending in 0544. You're up next.
Hi, guys. Bruce, this is Mike Record. You had asked the question whether I'd be here today or not. Hey, my quick question before you start is just give me the rock solid. Have foundation classes solidified as far as the cadence? So, and what days are they so I can build in my calendar?
First Wednesday of every month, and then the very next day. So, Thursday, sometimes it's the second Thursday. That's the only reason I say it always starts on the first Wednesday of the month, and it's 2 days consecutive at 2 o'clock Eastern time. You're Central, so 1 o'clock your time.
Okay, and is there a link or a number or what?
Yeah, you could call the number on the All the Leads site, or you could go in, log into your system, click on training, drop down to professional real estate coaching, and then there's a foundations link to register.
Okay. All right, so, good deal.
Training,
does that send out
professional real estate coaching, and then register. Go ahead.
By registering,
Mike, what was that?
By registering, does that send out notifications or?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
It does.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah.
All right. Next up is phone number ending in 6640. You're up next.
Hey guys, Eric Baskett in Los Angeles. One thing I've been getting hung up on is when they are still grieving the loss. I feel like that is authentic, and then sometimes it's a way for them to get off the phone. How do you guys usually handle that?
Label it. So, how would you label someone that is grieving the loss? What would you say, or what would you assume about them that you could vocalize? So that's a question. I'll give you my answer, but I want to see if you have something first. So if I say look, I just lost my husband. It's way too soon. What would you say to label them?
I would basically just probably set up a follow-up call for another 10 or 15 days down the road.
Okay, good request. But what could you say about them to get their response of "That's right"? That's right. So it's just way too soon. I literally just lost my wife a couple of weeks ago. What could you say that would get them to say "That's right"?
Oh gosh, I apologize. I mean, it's like a awkward situation for me.
So
I mean,
it's one of those things where you might say like, hey, I completely understand. It sounds like everything's just still a little too fresh for you.
Yeah.
Okay? It sounds like, or it looks like, or I bet that. So those are all nice lead-ins. It sounds like this. It looks like that. I bet this. And then you just say, kind of rephrase whatever they've said. It sounds like everything's probably just a little too recent for you. And at that point, they're gonna agree with you, and they're gonna give you a version of that's right. And you really get to kind of move on. Okay, I completely understand. In case that changes down the road, which I hope it does, do you think maybe I could keep in touch? And then you might even be able to spin it into a real estate conversation or into a deeper conversation after you've gotten their agreement for the next step.
Okay.
But the first thing you want to do is kind of reframe what they've said. It sounds like this. So you put something out there that it sounds like that you know that they're probably going to agree with. So this is too soon, or I've gotten 100 calls. It sounds like a lot of people have been trying to get a hold of you. It sounds like you're not looking for help right now. It sounds like this is still a little bit too fresh. It sounds like you're still in the middle of probate. It sounds like you haven't even been to the courthouse yet. I want you to take anything that they give you and give an it sounds like statement to get on the same page, to get them to agree with that label that you've been given them.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
And Eric, I'm curious, how often are you coming across that? Because that I can't say that it doesn't happen, but it's I find it's rare in most cases. Are you running into it a lot?
Yeah. It's funny.
Really?
I was calling my January list yesterday, and I got it on a few people, which I thought was really strange because it's so long ago. And then I was calling my July and August, I would expect it, but I didn't expect it in January. So I was just like, geez. So I ran into it a little bit lately. And a lot of it looks like when they're still living in the same property. So I'm guessing it's like the spouse.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The reason I say it's fairly atypical is because typically it's anywhere from 3 to 5 months from the death until the probate gets filed, and usually, and no two situations are alike, but usually by the time they file the probate, they're at least over the grief enough that they've made the decision, the business decision that I need to deal with this. So in my own prospecting, I rarely ran into that. But, and again, I know you're in Los Angeles. You're getting 400 or 500 leads a month. So, and your court system is stop and go also. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it. What's that, Eric?
I'm around 60 or 70 leads in my pocket, but Los Angeles is pretty big, so I was thinking about probably taking on another area if it was available.
Sure. I have a feeling somebody will reach out to you after the call and explore that possibility with you.
Sounds good.
All right.
Hey, Jim. Yeah, Jim?
Yes, sir. Yes,
yeah. The thing I was going to say is that it's oftentimes an opportunity when somebody tells you that, particularly if you know that it's been a long time, and it is highly likely that, and I'm not certainly, grief is grief, and no two sets of grief are the same, and we always have to be responsible to, be aware of people's troubles. But it's also appropriate to look at something like that and say something to them like, I get it, and I do understand, and I deal with this every day, and my business and my specialty is dealing with people who've all just, suffered losses. Is there anything in particular that, you're getting stuck with right now that, and I don't care about the property or anything else, anything in particular, or are you having any trouble with anything, anybody? We can help you with just about anything. And that's really what I've made my life's mission into being. Commiserate with what they're doing. I get it. It's fresh, validate their pain and offer a deal to help them with their pain rather than just, giving up on it. also an opportunity to commiserate with them and let them know that you're an expert. If you're leading with the real estate, you're going to run into that. If you don't lead with the real estate, if you lead with an offer to help, you may be able to ask that one extra question and give them the opportunity to say, well, maybe my problem is that the house is still filled up with my husband's possessions or my mother's possessions or whatever. Well, I've got somebody who can help you with that. And, there's some things that you can do to just ask that extra question. If it's been since January, they may also just be using that to tell you that, they're trying to blow you off. And it's worth asking that extra question. If it was, an August lead or a July lead, potentially very likely that it's still a pain point for them, and never hurts to, take that one extra step to do it. And I'm not encouraging you to be mean or act like a predator at all. I'm encouraging you to lead with the value.
Yeah, I appreciate that. No, it sounds good. And it's funny how whenever you ask that extra question, how many more doors get opened. It's just, it's getting, comfortable with going the next step, and it's just practice. But I appreciate it. Thank you.
And part of it, Bud, is you got to get comfortable with it yourself. You've got to know that you literally do have things that you can help them with, and that, realistically, we all know that one of the biggest problems in ever getting a piece of real estate available to be sold after the death of a family member is getting the house ready to be sold by eliminating the personal possessions of the person that died. That's the hardest emotional part of this. Their clothes are there, their mementos are there, the things they used, everything are there. It's painful. And if we can bring somebody in to help them get through that, to help them understand that, we approach this sympathetically and not in a hard way. And not only that, but some of those possessions can be used by people that really need them, and, to the benefit of all those people that are out there, and, make them feel good about what they're doing or feel better about it by offering to help. And if you can get through any one of those doors, you got a winner. You'll find out if there's property to be sold, but commiserate with somebody, make a friend first.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, man.
Thank you.
All right, good stuff. We had a couple people in the queue. Rick Wilson, if you want to jump back in there, you've always got good stuff. You disappeared. We do have one more in there. We probably have time for one or two more. If you want to hit *6 and hit 1. In the meantime, yes, sir. I'm here.
I'll have a hard 2:00 out. So
okay.
We can take more, but I just won't be here after about 1:59.
Well, it just won't be any good without you, so we'll end by 2. How's that?
All right.
All right. Well, right now, it may not be a problem, because right now, last up in the queue is phone number ending in 5757.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. This is Douglas in Seattle, and I really want to thank you guys for this class today. Once again, you come through in a major way. It was the first gentleman that went on was asking questions about never split the difference. Your response to it was awesome. And I just have a quick question, and that is, how do I make myself available for accountability and role play?
You talking with us, or are you talking about role play with some of the other subscribers that we have?
Both.
Both. Okay, gotcha. So accountability, role play. Number one, role play. You've been through foundations. Join foundations each time it comes up, specifically that second day, because it's more role play. And then we also have another monthly role play for anyone who's come through foundations. And guys, if you haven't been through foundations, the only reason that it's specific for those of you who've already been through it is because we're specifically using some of these techniques that we've talked about a lot today. And if you haven't been taught the techniques, you're going to be a little bit lost on the role play. So Douglas, you've been in that foundations class before. So look in 2 weeks for an email from me to everyone who's been through, offering a role play call. It's always the third Wednesday of every month. So be looking for that. I would also go on the Facebook Mastermind group and connect with anyone that's looking for a role play partner or a role play group. And lastly, be on the lookout. We're going to start doing a lot more classes and role play sessions coming up in the very near future. My schedule is a little bit full, so I'm not currently taking on other one-on-one clients right now. But we are going to be doing a lot more classes, and you'll receive email notifications of all those.
Excellent. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Douglas.
Doug, you're the last up this week. We have a few minutes. Is there anything else specifically we can help you with, or is that good?
No, it's just been an awesome class. It always is. I just really want to thank you guys. You really know what you're doing.
Well, thank you. It probably comes from about 100 years combined experience.
That's between Jim and Tim alone.
Exactly.
Or
it's
just
funny,
one of them.
I had my attorney review a letter I sent out recently, looking for investment property, and it said 40 years experience in real estate. He said, you might want to change that to 30. It makes you sound really old. That's okay. Earned every one of those years, and I'll own them, so no problem. The All the Leads Mastermind is a great place to find those kind of people. And if you don't find somebody, let us know. Bruce, with all the coaching he does, may have somebody in the back of his mind, but very few times will you go on that All Leads Mastermind and not be able to find someone. And Bruce,
we have someone from earlier today.
Oh, there you go. Okay, the first person up today was
second person, Mary.
The first
that
two
was Brent, I think, right?
Interested.
Okay. Just reach out and say, hey, guy on today's call. I'm not sure if that was Eddie or Brent, but just reach out and you'll get somebody through that group. And if you don't, let us know. The other thing I was going to say, you guys know I've been around realtors and coaching for, unfortunately, over 40 years, but I've never seen a course quite like, can you still hear me, Bruce? My computer blinked out.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. I want to make sure I had a power failure here. Most role plays, you get on the phone and you go beginning to end through the role play. Bruce has really, which is really hard to duplicate. You hear somebody that's great and say, oh, I could never be quite that good. The way Bruce has done it, to break it down into bite-sized segments, I've never seen anybody do that before. And it's more of a conversation and less of a script. So, again, I can't praise Foundations enough. I think you guys that haven't taken it, you're missing out. And we got to keep Bruce busy. He's got nothing to do most of the time. So sign up for the next Foundations class. And that's all I got. Partners, anything, Tim, anything you want to close with? Bruce?
No, not at all. It's a great call and really good back and forth today. This is why we do this. We really encourage you to do this. This is a friendly seat. It's not a hot spot. We don't care. We'll role play if you want to role play. If not, we'll be happy just to talk you through whatever you need to go do. And like Jim said, we've got, or Bruce said, we've got 10,000 years of experience in doing this. But the reality is that we started this call. We've got over 360 weeks of this that we've done. There's not much we haven't talked about. It's very rare that somebody will come up and say, well, what about this? We'll usually be able to say, well, 2 years ago, in February, our call did this, but we don't do that. We're happy to go over them all again and work with you. And we appreciate you being here. So, the more involvement, the better. This is your call, not ours. We can sit and talk to each other all day long. We're happy to do that, but we'd prefer to talk with you, and we appreciate the great feedback.
Yeah, and Tim, while you're talking about that, I don't think we mentioned this enough. We have probably the most robust search bar I've ever seen, other than maybe Google. If you heard something, if you've got a question, like Tim said, chances are we've talked about it on these calls. Just go to not your sub login. Just go to alltheleads.com, and that search bar up on the right, you can put in almost anything. It's kind of like Google. You might have to play around with it a little bit. Put almost anything in there, and it'll take you to every time we've discussed that, or every call. It'll take you right to it, so you don't have to spend a ton of time looking for stuff. Bruce, anything you want to close with?
No, that's it for me. I think I've talked enough today, and I've got to save my voice for 2 hours of role play.
All right. Well, great participation today, guys. I want to close this call like I always do. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I want to particularly thank those that actively participated. And I want to challenge each of you, take one thought, one idea that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Make it a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you same time next Thursday. Take care.